I have time to do one or two quick little experimental things with somebody before we have our own break here. I'd like somebody to come on up and I'll show you the way you could work with anybody to give them some suggestion to allow them to experience working with their subconscious. Who wants to come on up? All right, Philippe. The intellectual type always has more issues with their subconscious, and there's a reason for that. Often they're somewhat they're fearful of their own emotional response often. Maybe there's some issues in there they've never resolved, and so they don't like to open up to subconscious. There's some inhibition, but even still, without doing deeper psychological work, they'll respond often to these simpler experiments that we do with them, with a little bit of explanation. Now, let's have you, Philippe, if you stand so you're facing that wall there, that's good. Now, if you bring your feet and legs together. Okay, now this is called the old term is postural sway. I just call it the falling backwards test. Now, Philippe, I want you to, as you close your eye, keep your eyes remaining closed now. That's good. I want you to think in your mind over and over again that you're falling backwards. Imagine it in your mind. Imagine you're falling backwards, falling backwards, falling backwards, falling backwards, falling backwards. Okay, good. Now you did that quite easily. Let's do it again so you get the feeling of it. Just get it more fully into your mind. Falling backwards now, falling backwards. Lock your mind around that idea. Falling backwards, falling backwards, falling backwards. Now, he's responding to the suggestion, and you can see by the kind of slowness and the relaxed nature of it, he's not just doing that, pushing himself back. And by the way, that often, as he's falling backwards, can be used for a very quick trance, because as he comes back, you can just say, sleep, and pull him right back to put him in a chair on the ground. And that's an instant induction in a second, or less than a second. Okay, Philippe, just turn and face me for a moment. How does it feel when you're letting your subconscious respond to your suggestion? What's that?
It feels like if my brain is here looking at what's going on.
Okay, a little dissociation.
Yeah.
That's what we call it technically. That's the thing people often say. Some people will say things like, well, it's funny because I didn't make anything happen. I didn't try and do it. I didn't force myself. But I felt it was like some pull. But that's the power of the suggestions it takes hold in your mind, is pulling you back. Your own subconscious. You don't have to make an effort. The less the conscious effort again, the more the subconscious responds. Now, the next test I would normally recommend you do when you're doing this would be to move on and do hand levitation test. Have you ever done that one?
Yeah.
How do you respond with it?
Slowly, so I'm getting
Okay. Let's do it for the demonstration purposes here. Let's just have a chair. And this is where preparation is important. I'd like you to relax your body now. Okay, now you can leave your eyes remaining, let them remain open for the moment. This exercise is to teach you how you can respond to a suggestion and not make a big conscious effort or even a little conscious effort, but nevertheless produce an effect within your own body. In this case, for the hand to float up. This is hand levitation, and it provides a wonderful training for people in learning to use their subconscious with a suggestion, without the formal trance. We're not inducing hypnosis at the moment, okay? It can be used, by the way, as to induce the trance. It can be used to deepen the trance, but right now it's simply being used as a suggestibility test, or you may wish to call it using the imagination. If I'm working with a young person, say it's a child of 7 or 8 years old, I'll say, we're going to play a little game of pretend. Pretend your hand is a helium balloon. Where adults, because we've been so programmed, to use our intellect and believe that his has so much power, which it doesn't, that we tend to find it a little more difficult. Now, always rehearse it with the person. So let me explain the difference between conscious effort and subconscious movement. Conscious effort, if you lift your hand, you do that. You're going to brush your hair, brush your teeth, or whatever. Simple movement, isn't it? Now, when you let the subconscious do the work, imagine it's starting to float up. Picture it in your mind. And you don't make a conscious effort. Imagine it's a helium balloon. It's lighter than air, getting more and more light, and it's just floating and drifting up. Like that. That's good. Now, there's not some weird occult magic involved. In this case, what's happening is you're allowing your subconscious to respond. Your conscious mind must cooperate. It could block at any time. It could inhibit it. But you're not here to block it deliberately, of course. So as far as possible, just relax and let the conscious mind move aside again, just like you did with the other experiment. Good, Philippe. Just pick a spot on your hand to start with. That's your fixation point. That avoids distractions. It tends to induce a little dissociation itself as you keep your gaze directed on that spot. Now, as you focus on your left hand, imagine your left hand is beginning to float up. Imagine it's getting lighter and lighter all the time. So light that after a while it feels as though it's lighter than a feather, lighter than air. That's it. A wonderful, pleasant, light, easy feeling coming into your left hand now, into your arm. Beautifully light. Already it's happening now. You can feel those slight changes in sensations, slight little beginnings of movement. And soon those feelings get stronger and stronger. That's wonderful. And the lighter it feels then, the more it begins to float up, right up off your leg. That's wonderful. The more light it feels, the more it floats. The more it floats, then the lighter it feels, drifting up easily and gently. Just like a helium balloon, it feels so light. It's such a pleasant, wonderful, light, easy feeling in your left hand, your left arm. Lifting up now, drifting up, floating and rising. Lighter than air. Lighter than a feather, like the gospel balloon floats and rises up to the ceiling. So your left hand is lifting, drifting, floating and rising. Moving up and lifting up and drifting up, higher and higher, lighter and lighter. Good. Now let your eyelids close down. Let the motion continue in response to your suggestion. Moving, lifting, floating and rising. Now by comparison, your right hand feels so heavy and the left hand is so light. Lighter and lighter. You could imagine there's a big helium balloon attached to your wrist and your finger by strings. And as that balloon is floating up, it's pulling your hand up. And all the time, your left hand and arm getting lighter and lighter and lighter still. That's wonderful. Now, in just a moment, you find your left hand is beginning to float in towards your body. You feel a pull as it's being pulled in, magnetically attracted towards your body. Imagine your hand is starting to float in. That's it. Letting your subconscious mind respond to your suggestion. Your imagination now doing its perfect work. You don't force it, you don't resist. Just let your subconscious mind do its work. Drifting in, that's wonderful. Floating in, closing in and moving in, gently, easily. That's wonderful. Floating in, drifting in and closing in. And when your hand touches your body, your eyelids then lock so tightly closed. The more you try and open them, the tighter they're locking closed. Still floating in, drifting in, drawing in. And when your hand touches your body then, it drops loosely, limply down into a nice comfortable position, and your eyelids lock so tightly closed. That's wonderful. Floating in now. When your hand touches your body, it drops loosely, limply down into a comfortable position. Good. Now, your body is relaxed. I'm going to help you deepen that relaxation. I'm going to start with the little muscles around the eyes. I'm going to count from 5 down to 1. And by the time I reach the count of 1, your eyelids have locked so tightly closed. The more you try and open them, the tighter they're locking closed. 5, eyelids pressing down tightly. 4, pressing down, sealing shut. 3, sealing as if they were glued. 2, they're locked. And the more you try and open them, the tighter they're locking closed. 1, try to open them and find them locking tighter, tighter and tighter still. Good. Now just stop trying. And relax deeper through your eyes, through your face, down your body to the very tips of your toes. Now as you relax, you're learning the art of relaxation. Learning to use hypnosis powerfully, beneficially for yourself and for those at whom you work. Now, in a moment, I'm going to count up to 3. At the count of 3, eyelids open, and we'll move on then. So ready? 1, 2, 3, eyelids open. Okay. Now, that wasn't full hypnosis, full formal trance. It's just the use of suggestion. Give me some feedback on that, Philippe. How does it feel, the feeling of floating up? Funny. Okay.
The thing funny is that I know the whole process. It was funny because a part of me was translating what you're saying and feeding back to the process that already known. The other part was looking, oh, that hand is moving, great.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's it. There is a bit of dissociation. You can do things with your mind differently in the trance to normal. And you can separate out, you can do, and yet you can be in another place carrying out the suggestion, still looking on. That was a nice response. The more you practice, the more effective the person becomes at it. Now, you could give compounding or deepening the effect in different ways. As it's coming up, it keeps getting lighter. As it's coming up, you're relaxing more and more. Or as your arm is floating towards your body, you're going deep into hypnotic trance. I didn't do that there, but I could. Or as it's coming up, it's becoming more and more numb. Okay, so that was a very nice response. And depending on the nature and quality of the response, the speed, the level of conscious control, or lack of conscious control, gives you information about their responsiveness. This is all very helpful to you. And it's training them, it's teaching them they can respond, it builds their confidence. So they're all very important to do these tests. You don't have to do them with every client, but if you're going to do extended hypnotherapy work, and by that I mean over even 2 or 3 sessions, it's not just one session, this is still very helpful for them to learn. How was the eye catalepsy for you?
Surprising, because it's the first time that I get it.
Yeah. People often say that. People say things to me, I just couldn't open my eyes. Now that's not true. If the building was on fire, they sure opened them, because that suggestion will be replaced by the next suggestion, get out of the building. But right then and there, it feels so powerful. Now, I've often said to a person in a dental situation, just because you can't open your eyes, nothing bothers or disturbs you while the work is being done. And with that, with a fairly suggestible person, they have such a pleasant response. You know? Now, I will add to it, I'll give more suggestions. As you're relaxing in the chair, you now go off in your mind, in your imagination, to your favorite holiday spot. There you are, you're on the French Riviera, or you're off in somewhere else, in the Greek island. And leave your jaw with the dentist. So you just dissociate themselves for that nervous patient. So they're aware, one part of them aware that they're having their teeth drilled, but on the other hand, there's another part of them off away with fairies even. So now, you can build on that. If the eye catalepsy is responding very well, and if they're having a problem with that, we teach you how to deal with that, because it's important that they can get that. They pass the test, they can move on to a next, more complex test. In the old stage hypnosis, used the arm cataleptic test. You know, they pick a frail-looking girl in the audience to do that often, and make her arm stiff, and then have a strong guy. He wouldn't be able to bend it, because you see, the subconscious is very powerful at activating our bodies in a way you couldn't do normally. You have full body catalepsy as well, you know, where somebody can support the weight of 5 people on, not some of the ways sometimes done now, one person. I've seen it whereas 5 people have sat on somebody. That's the level of catalepsy they'd achieve, is suggestion. We've all heard the little old lady who's lifted the truck because her husband or son or whatever was trapped underneath. And these are real cases that have been studied medically, witnessed by firemen, paramedics. How could she do that? How could she support the weight of this car for, 10 minutes maybe, while her husband was able to breathe, and the firemen and people were able to rescue him eventually. Extraordinary feats of strength and power have been activated in people through this power of suggestion. That I have to do it, it must be done, and the powerful suggestion is an emotional command to the subconscious, which is an emotional mind. You know, the words I give for the suggestions are all about, it's a lovely, pleasant, light, easy feeling, It's using emotive words. We'll talk about the rules for programming and suggestion, and if you have the confidence and belief it'll happen, it will. That'll translate to them. Now, it takes time to develop all the confidence that, you're not going to learn it instantly. But after, because you may, the first time you do it, have a more minimal response with somebody. So what? You can build on that. And if they have a real block on it, I'll talk to you about what that means and how we deal with that too. Great. Well, thank you very much for that, Philippe. And you can have your chair back too.